So spark or dark? Think about the last 3 days. Gather those 3 days together. And has the majority been positive or negative? For most, 80% is negative. And if you don't want to change this, do nothing about it. Then don't click the link. Good morning, Jenny.
Hey, Jesse. Good day to you.
Good day. Good day to you.
I just picked up some healthy vegan food for Grace and dropped some lunch off to Heidi. So I'm almost home.
Oh, good.
I have a busy day. I have my board meeting tonight.
Is that a spark or dark?
A spark or dark? Well, we're not always popular with the residents, but we do a lot of good. So they can always sit in the armchair and judge our decisions, but they're not in the hot seat making them. So I just take it with a grain of salt. But we do the best we can.
Can't please everyone, can we?
Oh no, and I've given up on that desire. I work on pleasing me.
That's right.
That's enough of a challenge with all the little sabotaging voices that want to tell you you didn't do enough. So I'll work on me and let them work on them.
So which one is yours?
Which voice? Oh, I'm working on that GPS, tuning that one in. You're doing great. And the pre-programmed voices, they can just be a little bit of static and we can tune them out. That's my desire.
What is GPS?
Genius processing system instead of the inner judge. It's, it helps you stay on track, right? Your GPS, you got to know where you are and where you're going, right? So that's the thing we're going to use in our marketing. Start tuning in your GPS. It's always been there. But sometimes the static keeps us from hearing the message. Oh, we're live, right?
So how would someone experience their GPS?
That's a good question. We were talking about that earlier. My notes are upstairs, but let me just try to go from memory. Doesn't it annoy you when people say they're living the dream? What little voices come up in your head when you hear that? And yet, I used to be annoyed by that. And now I'm the one doing the annoying. Because you can live your dream when you learn a few simple tricks. Oh, Allison's here. Yay.
Yay.
Save me.
Sorry, I'm late.
Isn't that something in our head? Save me.
Yes.
I'm in the hot seat. Well, I was backing my car in and I'm grateful I didn't hit anything. So I'm going to deliver some food. So I'm going to go on mute a minute. You can You can look at my pattern.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Allison.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
You spark or dark?
I'm more spark today. I managed to
Yeah.
do something this morning that I gave myself credit for, so
Hmm,
it was really good
good. Beautiful. How did you know?
because of how I felt.
Mhm.
I had that you go experience.
So there it is. There's your words.
You go. Women don't like being called girls anymore, but I like the phrase.
Yours, that was your phrase. That's your
Mhm.
words. So
Mhm.
that becomes your pattern. That becomes your spark pattern,
Yes,
your spark plug.
my spark plug. That's right. That's a lovely phrase. Spark, but I like spark pattern very much.
Mhm. And so it becomes an anchor, you go girl, you go girl, you go girl. And it's like that begins your momentum.
So how did you know? What are your words?
Because 80% of our patterns are negative, and if you don't want to change it, don't click the link.
That's right.
What are we
Yeah.
attracted to? Where we listen to the don'ts. So use the don'ts, it's part of the tension.
Yeah.
So in the marketing, invite them not to click the link.
Oh, I can see what you mean. You mean not to click the link to end their viewing. Is that what you mean? Or do you mean that you're literally going to invite them not to click the link
Mhm,
for the next action?
80%. And if you don't want to change it, then don't click the link. 80% of people live in the dark. If you
Yeah.
don't want to change it, don't click the link.
Wonderful. Really well put. So, do you live in the spark or the dark? Do you want to do something about that? That's so good, Jess. That's
Give them
really
the 80%. 80% of the people live in the dark.
Yeah.
If you don't want to change this, don't click our link.
Yeah, that's
Don't
brilliant.
click this link.
No, that's so brilliant.
That's really good.
It is. It really, really is. And when I remember, JC, right in the beginning when we joined, you said, "Bleh, I don't want to do marketing." And look how amazing you've become, right?
Spark tension, it's playing with it and seeing what other people play with and going against the flow. So it's aware of what everyone else is doing.
You and Jenny are good with that. I'm not good with that yet. I don't know what it is. I was talking to my cousin this morning a little bit about it. She used to work for Discovery. She was a movie producer. She's so happy to be out of it. And I said to her, I really struggle with marketing. I hate persuading people to buy something. And she said, oh, that's a family trait. I said, I hate it too. So then I got me thinking, wonder what that's about. Because I feel passionate about telling people about things that could be worthwhile to them. And I can do that easily. But anyway, so this is really good. Dark or spark. If you don't want to change it, don't click our link.
And if they have an inner rebel that feels like they're being manipulated to click it, then they won't. That's not the kind of person we want to work with anyway.
What, somebody that's got an inner rebel?
Well, we all have an inner rebel at some point.
Yeah, I think it's a valuable part of us.
Well, we listen to the don'ts all the time, right? So it's like feeding the don'ts. You really, even though you give them the opposite of what you want. Yeah.
Hmm. Jess, did you get a chance to look at the chat that you've got with Ginny and I? Because she shared a a TEDx talk by a neuroscience guy that you would love.
Yeah, yeah, I watched that. Yeah,
Wasn't it wonderful?
yeah, it was.
I really loved him.
Yeah, it supports so much of the foundational work that we're seeing and called to help bring out.
Absolutely.
So that would be your. So how does a GPS system tie into that?
That would be the sage, right?
I'm gonna switch.
And it would be, so the inner GPS is almost like it takes you, in my language, it points you to the light. So if I had to translate that, then it would be, it points you to the energy of love, and appreciation and gratitude, excitement, curiosity, connection.
So if you don't want that, don't click the link.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Good.
Or if you're full of it already,
Still click the link. Come and have more fun.
there you go.
Find your tribe.
Do it.
See, everyone's telling them to click the link. I think that's the key to it.
Yes, I would agree.
So it's around like grabbing the awareness. It's like, oh, not what everyone else is saying.
Yeah. It's like that reverse psychology, right?
Yep.
Don't think of an pink elephant.
All right. So good. Guide the guides. What can we work for? What can we work today?
Okay, so Gigi, have you got something?
Not in particular.
Okay, so I've got something. I would like to have you, Jessie, please, to explore questions that we can ask when somebody is in a dilemma. So I have the dilemma, of course. But I often have clients in this kind of situation. And I was trying to think of how to summarize it. So you want to take an action that is reasonable, that is beneficial to your work situation. So I can just go with those two things for now. And then the other side of it is that you don't have the finances, really speaking, available at this point.
How are they connected?
How are those two sides connected?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this instance, they would be connected because ultimately over the midterm, not even long term, but over the midterm, your work would see to that debt.
Okay. So that would be one question. I would say, how are you connecting them?
Mm.
So it's awareness. Yeah, that's just key to the awareness of that.
Yeah.
The unseen, making it seen. So that would be one. So then it would be like, okay, what word what is the sense of it? Scarcity is in the background of it. And so how could you switch it from scarcity?
Yeah. And it's evaluating the scarcity, because that's where my mind keeps on going back to, because it's not imaginary scarcity. It's like it's real scarcity in terms of that it has to do with just the balance of the finances needed at that point in time. And then
investment, invest is the word that comes to that, right? Invest usually will trump scarcity, but it will bring up a fear for people.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Three chair it all the time.
Oh, okay. Oh God.
Always three chair money.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's a webinar demonstration for you.
Oh yes. That's a really good idea.
Double bubble scarcity. There you go. There's an insight.
To double bubble scarcity.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, because that's always with a dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are just a couple of examples of value.
Yes.
couldn't, I don't think you could, well, you eventually you could probably turn it into an ad, but it couldn't, I don't think you could have enough time to do it in an ad.
Mm-mm.
It'd be more of the webinar,
Mm.
more of the one-on-one, wherever you catch them early.
Mm.
Catch them in a group setting. Group setting is what your next one, right? You're inviting them to the webinar.
Right. Well, the webinar is more scripted and specifically geared towards them
Joining the group.
no, well, actually, the webinar is, the call to action is the phone call. And then the phone call, so the ads, the call to action is click on the webinar. Then the webinar screens prospects into clients. And then the call to action in the end of the webinar, which would be evergreen, is the call to action to book a call. And then on that call, we create value. And that's when they get the
Right.
offer. I'm sorry.
So I understand how everyone does it.
Oh. Okay.
You know, I'm just pointing out to be aware that's how everyone does it.
Mhm.
What is most important to you when you're going through something like that?
Support.
Okay. I would say value. Like, you do something to help me. You do something to help me. Sorry, Jenny, like what I heard on all of that was like, here's information, here's information, here's information. Let me give you information.
Mm. No, I think what I'm trying to do is follow through on a plan, because that seems to be what was missing, is completion of a plan, testing, then you test, then as you get your clients, you adjust to what their needs are. That's how you provide value. Like, we can be the unsung hero for months and years. We've got to complete one attempt at marketing, at least, and follow all the steps. That's where I was coming from. Not that I don't want to do it differently, but I haven't even mastered doing it the same way yet. So,
well, I'm also saying is like, throw your genius into what they're saying. And I got, if there, so here's the way to do it. If there's a way to follow their protocol and do it their protocol, then like, without a doubt. I know as like customers want that change, and they're going to stick around longer for people that are changing, that are providing that value experience, that valued experience.
yes.
Versus information. I mean, everyone like, if you're happy with 10%, then, like, yeah, you can keep getting the right information.
Mm.
Mhm. You're right. And what we want them to experience the shift at all connection
Yes.
points.
At every interaction, you bet. And it just gets deeper. It just gets deeper and deeper. It builds off the last one into the next one, into the next one.
Mhm. So somehow
Without a doubt.
we need to craft each of these steps in a way that they experience that.
Mm-hmm. And Duncan's not a bad model, right? I mean, his version of going through that, I think, You know, because in the ad, you're going to give a quick, I mean, if you choose to do it, you give a quick breakthrough, a quick shift, right? And then the next one would be whatever next intersection. Might even be videos that you're already just walking them through additional shifts.
Mm.
Because they're going to have I mean, is the webinar live or are they going to have instant access to it?
It's going to be
Evergreen.
pre-recorded instant access.
Uh-huh.
So I consider the webinar really the conversion marketing as opposed to a session,
Mm.
and building belief that
Mhm.
they can change, and then belief in us as a solution, a unique solution.
Yeah, man, the best way is right to it on that rather than talking about it, right? Is to take them through that for themselves, don't you think?
And we want it scalable. So if it's done with our physical presence live, then it's not scalable.
No, I don't suggest it to be live. I suggest it to be everyone that's your market. It would shift them as long as they engage. It's always the engagement part.
And that's the screening that this process does. It screens the looky-loos and the people who don't want to do the internal work from those that are willing to take the action.
Mhm.
You know, so we have literally in the webinar slide, it's like, this webinar is not for people who don't want to change and who want to be a victim or who want to see things, you know, as other people's fault, that don't want to do the hard work. You know, I'm paraphrasing, we didn't use these words, but, and it is for those that want to take action and have someone help them, you know.
Yeah, and then there's probably 3 points that they come to there. You're going to talk about 3 promises that you're going to deliver on.
Right. Or
And
three
or what?
aha moments. So we call them wow, not how. So
Okay.
we're not teaching them those concepts. We're indicating the aha where they'll want to know more of how to get that.
So what is the yes? So when you think about the teaching in that way, how are you triggered as a student? If that's the relationship you're building or is going to be the best building.
To get your student curious.
Is that the right structure?
Well, that is only to get them signed up for the program. That's not how we would do the, well, we don't want to call it a program, but the experience is where it is the group live and the shifts happen and it's unique to whatever they're dealing with in that moment.
Can shifts happen on a webinar?
Yes. Do I know how to do that?
On a recording?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Without a doubt they can. So it's only if you believe it can.
Well, yeah, I do believe it can, but I guess the shifts I can't tell unless they are engaged enough to go to the next step. So if they had a shift and they want more, then they'll go to the next step and book a call.
That's right. Or and so if that's one option, right? And so if you, what's another option that they're going to continue to stay or go to the next step? That's only if the intention is there, right? If your intention is to have them shift in that moment, then you would design it so that it happened. But there's also another intention in that would be to keep them interested enough that they keep moving on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess what I'm trying to pull apart here is the experience versus does experience breed curiosity.
Mhm.
Yes, and it also confirms belief.
That's right. It brings you, it's your value. It demonstrates it that people, they're more committed, I believe, than just, I'm curious. I wonder what they're going to say next.
Mm.
Here's a better question. How do you capture 80% of the market that comes to your link?
Well, this seems like a different intention. I think we're not, okay, let me see if I'm following you. 80% of the market that we're going for, or that clicks on the link? Because I think what we're looking at is being a big fish in a small pond by being very narrow in who our market is versus
Yep.
appealing to the masses, because everyone has an inner judge, inner critic. So there's potential for anyone to be our client, but we don't want to compete with Tony Robbins and Chris Duncan and all that. We want to be the big, this is a specialized area that we're in.
Right. So then good. Of the niche market, 80% of them click yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we would hope to convert.
Or 80% of them say, yes, I'm going to watch. 80% say, I'm going to go through this webinar. That's the next step after the ad. 80% of the people in that are going to go then to the, then they're going to book a call. So how do you get 80% of the people to book a call?
Well, part of that is the crafting of the webinar. If it hits all the points it's supposed to, and they feel like you get them, and you're like having a they're having a conversation inside their head and you've joined in. If they get that feeling like you really understand me, I'd never felt that understood, then that keeps them loyal to the entire process.
Good. Is there another way?
I'm sure there is. That's the one I'm pursuing now. So the other way is
So what has to be perfect in that one?
Getting connection with them.
language, right?
Yeah, which is that program, that is that mentality. Yeah, I got it. Good. So coulds. How about coulds? How about other coulds? 80%.
Well, it would 80% ratio of next step call to action being taken, I guess, would be
Yes.
if they felt not only understood, but they felt a shift within themselves and they want more.
There you go. Which one has a better chance of getting 80%?
Well, the shift and wanting more.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah, definitely.
That's all I'm bringing awareness to. I would. If I'm a valuable, if I'm a customer looking to create a transaction, that is what I'm looking for. Whether or
So-
not most people know it, I think that's what they're looking for too. So when you demonstrate it, you're going to suck it, you're going to bring them into it. And I don't think marketers do a very good job of that.
That's true. How do you do that?
You give them the experience, just in our words, right? Do it, awareness to it, right? You're doing a real small one in the ad. So after you do one in the ad, what would be the next one? The next experience. Present state's an easy one, but I think it's too long for what you're working to do now. I would work up to a 3-chair. I'd work up to a double bubble.
Well, I was
Having
just
those
thinking
is
double bubble. You could role play it in a sense, and they're coming along for the ride. That's almost what they do in the recodes.
Yeah.
They take an issue that's common to a lot of people. They have some
which is
teaching.
your niche market has those, right? You have to assume a certain amount that the niche market's going to have these things, which is what you are crafting them for.
Mhm.
uh, what was there was like you start to build the process. So when do you give away the whole GPS system along the way?
Once they've signed up and come to the sessions.
Okay, I understand that's the starting position. That is where we are now. Is that the only way? What if you get my point? What if you gave away step one in the webinar?
Which is awareness, right?
Yeah, I think what Jesse's saying also is that maybe it could be the GPS. But I mean, you can give the concept of the GPS. You can give a small experience of it.
You can't really give it away because it's something like the whole premise of what we experienced, Jesse, going back to the original sessions we attended where I was in San Diego, and what was that experience was the group, which is what we want to do initially. I don't know how to evergreen that, but except that we would have some learning that they could have through Evergreen. And then we have weekly calls where it's live, where they get the experience of applying it. But the point was, you can watch all those videos in Kartra or Kajabi and not make any shifts. When a couple of things are taking place, you're repeating your same unconscious patterns and you don't see it because there's no one there to point it out.
Yeah. So number one, that's the biggest thing is like, so step one is like, you got to see your own patterns.
Yes.
Teaching. So along the way, you're teaching, you're serving them of how to do that so that if they left at that moment, would they still be able to practice it?
Yes.
That's the key. That's what you want to leave them with.
Yeah.
Why? Because when they leave and they see you again, they're going to remember, oh, it's time for me to go to the next step.
So taking that, if you have the high performing professional woman who's accomplishing, but still there's this nagging feeling that they don't really talk about, and you bring that to the forefront with the ad and you say, these thoughts aren't who you are. That's a big awareness for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That was for me. So seeing
Good.
a pattern play out in your life and seeing that you're not fulfilling your potential is frustrating. And that's where we're meeting them initially.
Good. Good.
And we have a simple way to be aware and move past that.
Yeah. Right.
That's great.
And there's steps to it, right? And it's like, yeah, they don't get the whole thing until you don't tie it all together until the end. But you are demonstrating it all the way through. Right. And so it's like someone says, yes, oh my goodness, that is me. Now I go to the next one. It's like the next one. It's like, oh, you've talked to me, you spoke to me. So now we go to the next one. And then the next one, what are you going to do with me? Better yet, what's the best thing to shift in that next moment?
It's their belief in possibility.
I don't know if it happens in one session though. you have awarenesses that I guess I would call them mini shifts
Yeah.
with your identity. You can't shift from, I have never seen anyone in one session shift from the inner critic and all those sabotaging, behaviors shifting, and then they don't do it anymore. I've not seen that. I
Yeah,
think-
but the point is that if you have a small enough or a big enough shift, you come back for more,
Mhm.
right? So you don't,
That's the validation that you want to create, I believe.
Yes, so the intention is for each session to be a major shift.
That is
That's-
completely different intention than an informational session.
Yeah. But that's the actual, what are we calling it? Program, for lack of a better word.
so I had a term when you said you didn't know what you wanted to call it, Jenny.
Oh, what is it?
A Zoom retreat.
Okay. So each session of the Zoom retreat is a shift.
Hmm.
Well, it could be Zoom shifts because Zoom implies speed and shift is where we're going. But again, that's where it's like, it's not going to be completely shifting someone's identity. They wouldn't be able to orient with themselves.
No, you don't need to. But little ones can be massively huge in people's lives just in that intersection.
Yes.
Just enough so it's like, oh, that was good. I want the next one.
Mhm.
Because all you're leading it to eventually is that they begin to employ it. They begin to think it themselves rather than relying on you to lead them.
Right, which is what happened with Jennifer Bell, my one client that I was working with a while back. And when we went through Hurricane Ian, she knew we were out of electricity and she wasn't. And she's like, I don't want to bug Ginny, but she asked herself, what would Ginny ask me? Where are you and what do you want? Like she had already gotten that structure in mind.
Yeah.
What's going on and what do you want? That's that's a basic thing we could give away.
Yes.
In the
And
first.
then it's like that is part of like what steps is that of GPS?
Well, that's why the GPS is so wonderful as a metaphor, because you can't get to a destination with your car until you put in where you want to go, and it calculates from where you are how to get there. If you don't have where you are and where you want to go, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to be a floppy rubber band. It's that structure that's needed.
So is the end of the GPS where they do it themselves and you are no longer triggering them to think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we call it your GPS. We're just guiding them. I decided to call myself, I have to rename myself because my Zoom, I have to go back into settings. I'm a calibration coach or a calibration.
That's a good term, Jenny.
Calibrator. And what made me think of that is I took my car in because this is twice now that the tire pressure light came on and Greg's like, the tires are fine. I think it's something wrong with the sensor. So the first time there was a nail in my tire and I needed a whole new tire. This time the guy goes, it just needed to be calibrated. And that hit me. You have everything you need to get on the road to success, on your life of the dreams you have. You have it all within you. You just need it calibrated. And that's our job.
That's your job. You bet. It's not a one time and it's a constant, and it's not like you're ever giving it away, because at the end of the day, it's like however many times until they can do it themselves is what they're paying for.
Yeah.
Right. So initially it's 12 sessions and that's the ticket.
Which is typically right. We're still talking about getting them to the first session.
Mm.
Correct.
So you give it all away, even though, I mean, in a sense, you're giving it all away. You're just leading them to the point that they're going to say yes.
So there's one yes and that comes to me with that if you can do a disservice to the potential client by them thinking they have it and then trying to implement it without the calibrating or the guiding or the coaching or whatever you want to call that piece. And they think, I'm a DIYer, I'm just going to do it myself. So they'll think if you give them the first step or whatever it is, that they've got it and they're going to try that for a while before they sign up. That's the
only if you tell them, only if you're telling them that, right?
Telling them what?
Telling them that, oh, this is the first step.
Oh, I got you.
So you always are demonstrating it. You just don't announce that you're demonstrating it. That's the value of the process.
Okay, I'm not following that. Allison, you're off to the.
I also have to ask, how do you demonstrate that it's the first step without telling them? Does it matter?
No, I mean, you can always reword them. You can always shift them differently. It's just a different perspective because when you start putting an announcement on it, right, is when they better write that down, rather than you're just taking them through the experience of it so that they can come back and relive their experiences of it.
I think that's best served by almost role playing, but that's not the best word, but showing the dialogue of almost dialoguing it and demoing it.
That's
So
always, before someone wants to engage with it, they do love to see what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, their inner critic is going crazy. And Chris talks about that is like, oh, he walks them through the process. This is what's going to happen through this process, blah, 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 blah. And then you either take someone else through it as an example, and then takes the whole group through it. Now, those are deep process that people have to go into. There's easy structures of just questions and answers, right? That shifts.
The signal was acting up. I wonder if it's my internet.
I know everybody's, well, mine has been for the last 3 days.
I'm going to have let's see if it.
So what I'm thinking is that we could demonstrate a conversation between the inner critic and the sage, as it were.
Well, the genius. We won't call it the sage. It's not our word. But yes, that's what I was suggesting. And we were talking about that earlier with our voices.
Yeah.
We just role play a scenario, even say a double bubble on whatever. Or I don't think we could do the 3-chair money thing in a short enough time. But maybe I'm wrong.
But you could do just in a conversation.
Yeah.
You don't have to just with questions and answers.
Well,
or statements, and then so you could have the inner critic giving its statement, and then you could have the genius going, hang on a minute, why are you ignoring me? I've got something to say about this. Don't you remember this and that, and how good it felt when you thought this instead of that?
So it's almost like we're role playing a conversation between two really good friends, and one's struggling and the other's supporting.
We could do it that way too, yeah.
And that is what we've experienced in our group that we want them to experience.
That's right.
And I mean, we've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
with one of us being triggered by something in
Well,
particular.
then it should be recorded, right? And it should be recorded, and you have part of it already.
I don't know. Yeah,
We'd have to make a new recording.
I would prefer
That's
to,
fine. Yeah,
but we can take it from real conversations is the point.
yeah, yeah. We can role play it.
And basically replay what we've already experienced.
Exactly.
I mean, Jesse, one of them was with you when I was triggered by a spouse comment, and then I started to see my own pattern. So, I mean, a lot of those type of conversations are generic enough that others can relate to it.
Mhm.
Or, getting whopped by your kid and being able to stay in a place where you don't react, that's pretty powerful.
Very.
Those are like what people want to be able to do, and they love to hear the stories about them.
Exactly. So that's where I was going, because we don't have testimonials per se for this group. And then I started realizing, but we have so much shifting that has happened that we can demonstrate it between the three of us playing different voices. It could be extremely powerful. Like basically reenact an ET triangle call. I like that. Oh, eternal, an ET call.
Yeah, E.T. People our age will remember that.
Phone home. Well, and that's who we're targeting. So that's the nice part to worry about. They'll never understand what I mean by a broken record. Yeah, they will.
Mm.
That's funny. That's really good. Okay. And there's space in there when you're talking. We could have that illustrate the three main points.
There you go. Of course, that's connected to that. You bet. And without, you don't even have to call them out or do call them out. It doesn't matter. It's not like they can steal it anyway. You're just giving them repetition.
So we pick struggles that we know our clients are experiencing, that we've experienced, and then we create kind of a narrated script of what's going on with the client and what the friend is saying, and then really teaching, maybe in one scenario, that externally someone asks the questions to help get them to neutral and then to positive, right? If they're in a negative. And then how in another one, I was able to do it for myself. And so can you. And it takes practice and support. Those were the things that we offer that they don't get if they just read a book or watch a video.
That's right.
Or get
Or, and separate yourself too. It's like, oh, everyone else just talks to you. That doesn't work. We only retain like 10% of that. That is costly. You get a higher return working with us because you engage. So then you're constantly inviting them to engage rather than being a passive observer.
Yeah.
Because when they engage, they're going to get a greater return. The present state still keeps coming up for me as an early on process for them to take an inventory of their awareness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Change the questions to fit your niche and your market, but use that template. Because what people are doing then is they begin to, one, become aware and then measure themselves. And it gives them a progress report.
Which, wouldn't that also work if you did like the wheel of life? Isn't that the present state?
I'm,
Where-
I'm unfamiliar with that one, but
Okay.
probably if
Present state is those 10 questions.
10 questions, yeah, that you measure, you know, and what I find with that is it gives you a rating, it gives you a measure, which is very important, which is where, you know, it's like where, you know, the last 3 days, have you been gripped by positive or negative?
I said that earlier today. I thought that would be a good measure.
Yeah.
It's a very
Yeah.
good first one.
Say what?
It's a very good first one, and then take it to timing. Like the past, present, or future. That's another added one. Because they're so interconnected, they're so related. And if people are aware of those two things, they can get themselves out of anything. So, you know, something, and then so like the first interaction, I'm thinking the webinar, the very first point around the webinar, opening the webinar, right, could have them take an inventory of that present state or wheel. And then at the end of it, have them relook at it again.
Mm.
Because then at the end, they've got a measure, they've got a starting point, and they've got to change. And work on what would change that the most for them, depending on what you've structured it as. And then invite them to the next one, which is a double bubble, which is a massive, rapid, quicker way, or whatever processes you want to use about it. And offer a session for a 3-chair to remove their money blocks. I mean, everyone loves that.
That would be very powerful.
I thought present state was in module 2, but it's not. I can't find it.
Don't worry about it now, Gigi.
I think it's in the values. Yeah, because I think it's lenses. I guess if you want to I got it available somewhere.
Yeah. Well, even if you know, like values is getting to what's important to you and where are you putting your energy and your time? Is it balanced? And what's sucking your energy? And a lot of it's
Good.
thoughts.
Mhm.
So like the values is stating what's important about your life, what else is important. So you're looking at how you spent your time in the past and how you'd want to spend your time in the future. So you could do that with the wheel, you know, in the different areas, relationship, fitness, fun, career, whatever. They can give themselves a 0 to 10 rating or 1 to 10 rating, however you do the rating. And then where are they in fulfilling those. It's interesting. I know that there's a present state list of questions and I can't seem to find them, so I'll look for it later. Because they're the ones that you answer, like you rate them, whether you can accept the present state. I thought that was in the values session, but it's not showing up.
It's one of the first ones, first weeks, first or second. It might be the second week in the values. Because I think lenses is first.
Mhm. Yeah.
But you could tailor it to your audience,
Mhm.
and bring forth the awareness of more and more of it for specifically for them.
Yeah. I may have pulled it out when we were doing it in a practice and need to reprint it. It's okay. Oh, no, it's actually in session 6, accepting the present state. 153. That's why I was not finding it.
That's why.
Yeah, here they are. Can I appreciate the present state? Nothing is wrong at all. There's something the present state is better than. My problems are brilliant and elegant solutions. Where I have shame, I am grateful. That'd be a good one.
Wow. That's a very good one. To go from shame to gratitude.
Well, and that's why we were saying you don't have to get rid of your inner critic, embrace it, which is saying it differently than everybody else. There is nothing I can do to be more or less. There's nothing I can do to be more or less loved. Right now is better than what I want. I can surrender 100% to what is. I can find hope and experience hopelessness.
That's a good one.
Okay, cool. So it's actually page 155 in my book. Good stuff.
Yes. You did great, Jenny.
Jesse did great. We just were coming along for the ride.
That's often the case, isn't it? More often.
Yeah, it's just that's working together, gathering together on it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the logical levels of change, and the base of the triangle is environment, then behavior, capability, beliefs, identity, ecology, which is family systems. You start with the environment. There you go. That's something we could teach in the webinar and give away. And without the support environment, it's so much harder.
I like that, Jenny. I really like that.
Okay, I can work on that.
Alone is so much harder.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing as in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why most people are looking at the ads too, because they haven't found their community or their tribe yet. I mean, that's part of what attracted me. It's a huge part of what attracted me with Chris's webinar. The idea of becoming a coach and having a community.
Yeah, alone is such a, one of those deep rooted fears.
And for good reason.
You know? But we put so much power on it that we forget it's us. It starts with us.
Correct. Because we don't recognize that we are connected anyway. We think we have to work for the connection.
Yep.
Or we have to
Or
prove
get
ourselves.
something. Oh, that's the other one. Those other sentences, like fill it where you're giving your power away. Have people fill them in. Those they're in the book, right? Through Chris's book, he's got some good. He takes people through a good logical level as well of how to get people to see their own shits, their own shifts. So that's a good resource too. His book, those words, like when I get X, then I'll feel Y.
Yes.
So when you have people say fill in the blank, write down, and the more you can have them write down one word or one feeling, that is having them engaged. That's going to shift. And just think of them as bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
I'll take this bite, I'll take this bite, I'll take this bite, I'll take this bite. And like you said, you're just unwinding, these different changes. Great working with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jesse.
so much, Jesse. This was really awesome. Good work.
It was. It was good work. All right, I'll let you go.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye all.